the real-life Robinson Crusoe, the man who survived alone for 4 years. This is not just a story, it's actually real history. This is the extraordinary tale of Alexander Selkirk, the man who survived alone on a deserted island for 4 years and became the inspiration for Robinson Crusoe. The beginning of the end. Our story begins in the early 1700s. The world was a very different place. Vast empires ruled the seas, piracy was rampant, and sailors often spent months, even years, navigating treacherous waters in search of riches. Alexander Selkirk was a Scottish sailor with a bold but stubborn personality. In 1704, he found himself aboard an English privateer ship called Cinque Ports, sailing through the dangerous waters of the Pacific Ocean. The mission? To attack Spanish ships and seize their treasure. But there was a problem. The ship itself was in terrible condition, leaking, rotting, and barely holding together. Selkirk, who had a keen eye for danger, warned the captain that they needed to stop and repair the vessel before it was too late. However, the captain, a man of immense pride and short temper, did not take kindly to being questioned. In a fit of frustration, Selkirk made a rash decision. He declared that he would rather stay on the nearest island than continue aboard a ship that was doomed to sink. Thinking he was bluffing, the captain called his bluff, and just like that, Selkirk was abandoned. As the ship sailed away, he watched in horror, realizing that his act of defiance had just condemned him to absolute solitude. He was stranded, utterly alone, on a desolate island in the Pacific. But little did he know, this decision would be the only reason he survived. The Island of Despair. At first, Selkirk was overcome with fear. The island, later named Mazatierra, now Robinson Crusoe Island off the coast of Chile, was uninhabited. No people, no help, just endless jungle and coastline. The silence was deafening, broken only by the crashing waves and cries of distant seabirds. With no idea how long he would be there, he had to fight against despair and take control of his fate. His first challenge? Finding food and water. He scavenged the land, discovering wild goats, shellfish, and edible plants. But survival wasn't just about food. He had to build shelter before the brutal tropical storms arrived. Using wood from fallen trees, he constructed a rudimentary hut, covering it with leaves and animal skins. Every day he became more self-reliant, sharpening his instincts, learning to hunt with spears, and even making clothes from goat hides. But there was one enemy he could not fight: loneliness. The isolation began to eat away at him. At night, he would hear the distant howls of sea lions and the rustling of unseen creatures. With no one to talk to, no human interaction, the days blurred into weeks and the weeks into months. Would he ever see another human again? A test of sanity. Over time, Selkirk's loneliness pushed him to the brink of madness. He started talking to himself just to hear a voice. He trained wild cats to keep him company and sang songs to fight the crushing silence. But as he spent more time alone, something strange happened. He became stronger, faster, more in tune with nature. His senses sharpened. He could tell the time by the position of the sun. He could predict storms by the scent in the air. He was no longer just a sailor. He had transformed into a true survivalist. What he didn't know was that, far away on the ocean, his old ship, the Cinque Ports, had indeed sunk just as he predicted. Had he stayed aboard, he would have perished with the rest of the crew. His choice, though forced upon him, had saved his life. Rescue and return to civilization. Then, after 4 long years of solitude, everything changed. One day, a ship appeared on the horizon, but this was not an ordinary ship. It was a British vessel, a fellow privateer ship. Selkirk, now almost unrecognisable, his beard long, his clothes made from animal skins, ran to the shore, waving desperately. The crew, at first, thought he was some wild man or ghost, but when they heard his story, they were stunned. He was finally rescued. When he returned to civilization, he became a legend. His story spread across England, and in 1719, author Daniel Defoe took inspiration from Selkirk's experience to write Robinson Crusoe, one of the most famous adventure novels in history. But here's the twist. After years of survival, Selkirk found it difficult to adjust to normal life. He missed the simplicity of the island, the noise, the politics, the crowded streets. They all felt overwhelming. In the end, the man who had fought so hard to return to civilization realized that he had left part of his soul on that lonely island in the Pacific. And now I have a question for you. If you were stranded on a deserted island for 4 years, do you think you could survive? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more amazing stories that teach you English in the most fascinating way.